How's it going, everybody? Today I have the first ever Tim Pool exclusive story. Recently, I was contacted by some researchers from a security group called Red Lion, who discovered that thenation.com had exposed their entire database to the public, giving access to administrative usernames, passwords, basically everything on the website. The Nation failed to secure one of their AWS server file sheets, and in this was a direct link to their database backup. I met with a software developer and engineer to independently verify that this was true. So I am in Manhattan with Jordan, who is a software developer. You have a ton of experience, several years now. You were telling me?
I've been a professional software developer for over 5 years now.
Okay, so when you see something like this, what we were looking at before, you know what that is.
Yeah, so that's an S3 file system. So Amazon S3 is the largest file system on the internet. It's normally used as the back end for a variety of web services. So we're looking at the actual file system for what seems to be the Nation.com's website.
Is this a normal, is this normal?
So it is normal to have certain file systems publicly exposed because that's where the content on the website is hosted. So if you're looking at a news article and it has a bunch of images and videos potentially, those images and videos could be stored on a publicly accessible file system. So it's not suspicious in and of itself that that link is available.
Now, so this is my laptop, you know, just for whatever it might matter. Jordan, this is not his computer, this is my computer where I clicked this link. But one of the things we see is it says the Nation backup, and it's a tar.gz file. So first, what is a tar.gz for those that don't understand?
It's just a compressed file. So
it's like a zip?
It's like a zip file. It's just a different in compression than the zip file, but it's just taking really, really large files and making them smaller to actually send on the internet.
Okay, so one of the things that we saw in this is it says it's the Nation backup, and the size shows it to be about 61 gigabytes.
Right. So in a publicly accessible file system, you would expect to see videos and pictures and articles that are actually on the front end facing website. But in terms of an actual database, that should all be restricted access. You shouldn't have that publicly available. So it appears just from looking at the file system that somebody did post a backup of the database to the publicly accessible file system, which means that anybody could download that database.
And it looks like it's updating regularly. I mean, August 8th, 2017 is the latest date.
So it's normal when you have a SQL database to have an automated process that's continuously making backups pretty much every day. So they might have a script that's continuously making backups and putting it to S3, which is also normal, but they're probably putting it into a publicly accessible bucket, which is not what you'd want to do. Because then anyone could download your database.
And this database, it's going to have like usernames and passwords?
It's going to have everything.
Everything?
It's going to have everything about that website. Hopefully the passwords are, hashed so that it's not obvious what the actual passphrase is. But if it's not correctly configured, they might leak passwords.
But even if the passwords are hashed, is that a difficult thing to figure out what the text is?
It depends how you hash it. You can do it securely and you can do it insecurely, so that depends on the competence of their developers. Normally, if you get hashed passwords, you're not going to get access to the password, but if you're using an insecure hashing algorithm, you don't know.
So I was told by the people who contacted me that they were easily able to break through and figure out what these passwords were. Does that seem possible?
It's possible, for sure, yeah.
All right, man. Do you have any, final thoughts on this? As a company who may have published a database, that's not normal. Is that alarming at all?
Well, it's hard to know until you can actually see the contents to understand what exactly you're dealing with. But having a database backup being backed up to a publicly accessible bucket seems like it would be a pretty big security risk.
Wow. All right, man. Thank you very much.
Cool.
So now that you know what happened, let me give you a quick breakdown of what this means and why this is significant. There are public-facing URLs for Amazon servers. And the Nation published all of their data, their entire database, and every file from their website free and available to the public, which means that you could download it, open it right up. So this is not a hack. This was the Nation failing to secure their data. Now, why this is significant? The Nation is the oldest running weekly publication in American history and the most consumed publication by leftists and progressives. Their Twitter account has over 1.2 million followers. This breach, this exposure, would allow anyone to access anything on their website. It would allow them to lock out the entire company, take everything over or secretly run programs or write articles from behind the backs of those who worked at the Nation. Now let me give you some context as to the severity of a breach like this, especially for a publication like the Nation. In 2013, the Syrian Electronic Army, a hacker group, used a phishing attack to gain access to the Associated Press's Twitter account. They then tweeted out that there was an attack at the White House. This was fake, it was a hack, it was manipulation, but instantly the US stock market lost $136 billion in value from one tweet from a mainstream media publication. Now, most people reported that this stock drop-off nearly instantly recovered once it came to light that this was a hack, that the Associated Press did not in fact tweet this intentionally, and that the White House was fine. But what most people did not consider is that the stock drop-off of $136 billion, while it did recover, that money changed hands. And so that means hackers using mainstream media can manipulate the markets for massive financial gain. They moved $136 billion between many different institutions, organizations, and individuals, and that can have a serious impact on political infrastructure, on corporations, on our economy. So imagine if someone were able to gain access to a website like The Nation, which again is the most consumed media platform for liberals and progressives, and they were able to sneak in an article about, say, Donald Trump doing something terrifying. They could spark widespread protests. Say they included some information about Bitcoin, saying that the market was bad. They could cause a massive drop-off in value and negatively impact the US economy and many people's wealth around the world. Mainstream news organizations have a serious responsibility for taking care of their security, and most news organizations do not do this. And it's for a few reasons. The first reason has to do with money, and it is a bit sad. Many news organizations can't afford to even hire journalists, let alone security experts. But there is no trade-off. You cannot have good journalism unless you have good security, because your systems will be compromised, your sources will be compromised, and that will negatively impact the work you do and even the livelihoods and the safety of your staff. The second reason is negligence. I'm informed by Red Lion that they reached out to the Nation no more than 3 times, and it took 2 weeks for them to finally close this breach. But it wasn't until I contacted the Nation for a comment that they took action. Now, I did receive a comment from the Nation, and they said that at no time was any sensitive information made available, and that it's the Nation's policy not to comment further on security practices. But if we're taking the word of the Red Lion Security Research Group, that is not the case. That private information was made available. And if we look to our independent verification, it is likely that publishing a database would result in a security risk and the publishing of private information. In this instance, my personal opinion is that we wouldn't call this ignorance or a failure to afford the security, because the Nation was able to seal this exposure upon my notifying them. Journalists need to understand technology. The internet is where we do most of our work. Most journalists are searching for things online, they're making transactions online, they're speaking to sources online, and many of them are not protected. I've spoken with very successful and very prominent mainstream news reporters and anchors who have traveled to dangerous countries with zero security for their devices. And this means when you go to a country like Russia, when you go to a country like Syria, if you do not have security, if you do not have a burner phone or a brand new laptop, expect all of your information to have been taken by these special interests or anyone who might be interested in what you're doing. This can cause problems for you, other journalists. You can risk the lives of your sources. But more importantly, if a nefarious actor gains access to a publication as large as the Nation, they can cause serious damage to our country or basically to anything they want by spreading misinformation, by spreading fake news through a website that has over 1 million followers. Almost every day, new exploits are discovered. As often as we try to update our security, there are many, many more attackers trying to break into our system than those trying to defend it. Think about how many people would like to break into any of these mainstream news organizations. Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions around the world who want to use the influence of a major publication for their own personal gain. And then think about how many people at those companies are actually trying to defend their systems. This makes the fight in security an uphill battle for most organizations. But I want to stress that in this instance, the Nation failed to secure their own database. This was a matter of them just freely and openly publishing all of their information to the public, that anyone could simply Google search this link, download their database, and have literally everything on their systems. Now, there are many, many more companies, media companies, financial institutions that are facing similar problems. Many of these companies do a decent job of protecting their systems, and fortunately for the nation, security researchers were able to discover this before anything bad happened. And fortunately for the nation, they eventually did take action and secure their systems. So let me know what you think. Comment below. How serious do you find the security issue to be? Do you know anything about it, and what are your thoughts? Click the like button if you liked the video. This has been the first of potentially many to come exclusive stories here on my YouTube channel. So thank you all so much for watching. If you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. If you want to support the work that I do, you can go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos will always be free and available every day at 4 p.m. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.